Kim, we've
Yes.
seen the Meg 2. We
We
just saw
did.
it the other night.
Yep.
Awesome theater going experience. So, okay, I guess for context, let's briefly talk about the Meg 1 and our reactions to that, maybe. So, like with the first Meg, what did you think about that movie?
I really like that movie. And I guess I wish I had seen it more recently to like talk about why I liked it. I just know that I like it. And I know we were talking the other night about like I would watch that movie again. Like
Yeah.
I would. I own it because you gave it to me as a thank you for taking on a ninth class one semester. So it also brings up those fond memories of being incredibly stressed out.
I'm glad I
So
could contribute to that.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I really like the first one. I felt like it had a cohesive story.
Yeah, I like the first one a lot. It's one of those movies that if I catch it on like TNT or whatever, like I'm gonna kind of sit and watch the whole thing for the
Yeah.
most part. Like I just get roped into it because it's fun and stupid. I will say the acting in the first one is pretty bad, as is the case with the second one, but that doesn't matter because it's a fun shark movie.
It is, and I know we'll talk about this, but I guess I'm more forgiving of the bad acting in the second one because I also feel like it was bad writing. Like I just feel like they were like, "Have fun, do whatever you want, go for it." Where in the first one, they tried to have like some depth, and then that's where the acting's like, okay."
Yeah, so and this is, I mean, I guess this is the sort of thing that is typically peppered throughout a review, but I'll just say from the jump that I didn't like it. The thing is, I didn't hate it. The second one, I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. And I think I told you after we saw it that I
Yeah,
was like, it's just kind of there. Like I don't know,
it is.
like, and it felt almost more like a Jason Statham action movie than a true killer shark movie, which was weird to me.
Because there's a whole chunk of the movie where there are no sharks. Like, there's
Right.
no creature, really, actually, once they get to and, I know we're gonna go but once they get to that substation, it's them versus one of a few villains that they have to navigate, and there's no creatures.
And I've seen some other people compare that whole sequence to the movie Underwater. Have you seen that one before with
No.
from Twilight? What's her name?
Kristen Stewart?
Kristen Stewart. Yeah, it's actually a really cool horror movie, Underwater. If you've never seen it,
Oh,
it takes
okay.
place on like an undersea station, but there's this whole sequence where she's outside and there are these creatures like kind of living in the depths. There's a lot of parallels to that for sure. I don't think
Okay.
it's really as well crafted as that movie, but there are some comparisons. Plus, I don't expect this to be like the most accurate thing in terms of physics and all of that, but there's some stuff that happens 25,000 feet underwater that there's just no way that they would survive. Like literally Jason Statham swimming outside of a station without a suit on and holding his breath for a couple of minutes. Like he would be converted into a tin can that like is this big and probably explode. But then I love the way they sort of explained it away with, no, it has to do with your sinuses. You got to breathe the air out of your sinuses and then you're good. Like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about that, but I felt pretty confident that that would not have
you,
gone the way.
somebody would not. I mean, literally, you've got like miles of water pushing down on you. Like it wouldn't be good, right? Like it wouldn't
Yes.
be. It wouldn't be great.
Well, then they have that moment where the one girl's mask gets cracked during the creature attack, and hers, and that might be my favorite moment of the movie because
Yeah,
it was incredibly disturbing.
yeah.
Like,
The way it implodes.
yeah, and she's dead, and like you don't know. You genuinely don't know. You like her. You're invested. That was probably the strongest moment for me in that movie because like I felt something.
Well, the two things about that stand out to me are is it directly contradicts what Jason Statham does without a suit on, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't implode in the same way that she does when her
Yeah, well,
mask
I mean, she had a crack in her mask, so that's why.
cracks. So there's that. And I think we were talking about this on the way out of the theater. Like for some reason, I kept thinking about the Seagate disaster, like or the Ocean Gate
Yeah.
disaster, the thing that just happened. And it's like, I mean, obviously they filmed this without any kind of foreknowledge that that sort of thing's going to transpire,
Yeah.
but it kind of made me think a little bit about that, which made it, I think you're right, like that much more disturbing in some ways, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know. And I know I've mentioned this before, but The Abyss, that James Cameron movie that
Oh,
we've talked
yeah.
about watching, like there is a super disturbing scene like that where they're underwater and like an implosion happens, but it's the same kind of thing. But I think it's done a little bit better in The Abyss. But yeah. So yeah, they're underwater. So I guess plot wise, right? The whole plot here is after the first movie, Jason Statham is basically like an eco journalist, like he's trying to stop
Yeah.
people from dumping toxic waste in the ocean. they inadvertently stumble across a mining facility in the trench, which is the same trench from the first movie, I think, where all of these sort of ancient creatures exist because of this thermal layer of
Yes.
water or something like that. How
They've
they built
also
the facility.
somehow, like, captured a Meg. Like, they don't we don't like, we didn't know that, right? That
Yeah,
didn't happen. Like,
it didn't
they
happen.
have a Meg in captivity that's
Right.
just chilling at their research center.
And as I told you, I was waiting for a Jaws 3D or whatever the Jaws that movie was scene where it like comes toward the screen and
Yes.
crashes through and
And
all that
and
kind of
and
stuff.
and it reminded me of Jurassic World where they're training raptors, which I don't think you could ever actually do. And they're training a Meg. He's got his little clicker. He's like, "No, we have a connection. She listens to me." And I'm like, "Okay.
You know,
All
I didn't even
right."
think about that, but you're totally right. That was
Yeah.
totally so I agree with you. I doubt you'd be able to train raptors, but that felt more believable than training the Meg a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know why to me. I don't know. Maybe because I just love Jurassic Park in general and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, there are bad guys here. And honestly, the bad guys are like caricatures of caricatures. Like,
They are. They suck.
yeah,
Because there's I just why did we need so many?
right.
And then, like, there's I guess, a romantic relationship between some of them, and then someone's gonna get promoted, and then, like, it's just there's
Did
just
you
so much
so
happening.
so there's a member of the good guy crew,
Yeah.
this top side, who I knew was going to turn. Like, I don't know if it's just the way they framed it the whole time, but I was like, this is if I thought at first like maybe they're wanting me to think it's this person, but it ended up being that person. Like,
I was like, if it's not this person, then she's a really bad actress. Like, because the way
yeah.
she's acting makes me think that she could be involved, which, I mean,
So
if that wasn't her choice, then oops, but that's what
and
I
I
got.
guess I'll sort of say spoilers here. So if you were planning to see the movie and you want to go in totally fresh, I mean, obviously we've given away some stuff in the plot, but a spoiler regarding that character, and I'll pause a second before I say it, is that she goes out in the same way that Sam Jackson goes out in Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
Essentially, right? Like, and I don't know
Yes.
if that was intentionally a callback to that, or if it was
I don't
just
know, but
supposed
I
to be.
appreciated it. I
Yeah, I
liked
mean, it
it.
was funny, but the thing is, you see it in the trailer. I mean, have you seen the trailer? That happens in the trailer.
It does. I guess it's one of those moments, like, you see a trailer, but, like, as you're watching the movie, you kind of forget about it. Like, I knew that was a moment, but I didn't connect that that was the moment that I just saw.
Right. I
Makes sense.
think I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And
I know what
also,
you're saying.
like,
Yeah,
the fact that her villain lover guy, who A, survived his sub crash in the trench, we don't know how, then survived that quick ascent using a buoy from the
right.
trench
We didn't
all
get
the
the
way up,
bends or whatever would happen when you do
yeah, to
that.
the surface.
Yeah,
As the water is cascading into this room now, he is able to escape the
right.
ocean and shut the
Yeah.
door. And he's upset. He's upset that she's gone.
He screams in agony or something like whenever his love interest has been eaten. So yeah, she's killed, and so this whole time, I guess the plot basically is that Jason Statham and his team are going. So the bad guys are worried they're going to expose their mining facility, essentially,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting something there, I think that's kind of it,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I got, that they're gonna expose that they have this, that's what they're doing because he is, like, an eco-friendly person now.
So eventually they get up to the surface, and then there's a race to get to a place called Fun Island. And I got to say that
Well, and
name,
there's a race to get there because the Megs have all escaped through that thermal layer thing. So now
right?
we have 3 Megs.
And there was one that escaped from captivity, right? The one that was,
And the one from captivity escaped as well.
yeah.
So
So
yes, we have 4.
I was about to say there's 4 Megs, right?
Technically, there is 4.
And a giant squid thrown
Which
into the
I
mix.
did like the moment where you see, like, the shadow of the squid coming through that thermal layer. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
that was cool. I mean, I love like. So my thing with this movie too, and I think I mentioned this after we saw it, was that it felt like a Sci-Fi Channel movie that just had a gigantic budget. Like if the Sci-Fi Channel got a blank check and they were like, make a 2-hour movie about a megalodon versus a giant squid and
Yes,
have some
giant
people
sea
in it, like
creatures.
this is what we would have gotten. And
Yes.
and I mean that that's not necessarily an insult, but it's also not
Right.
a compliment, really. You know what I mean?
It's an
Like
observation.
it's an observation.
It's an
Yeah.
observation. Yeah.
So now Fun Island, this is where things, and I will say, You know, things actually do get fun in the movie at this point, or funner, more fun.
Because now it's like the third act chaos. And we talked a lot about this, that like I have to believe these characters only came back for a sequel because they all wrote into their contracts that they get ridiculous action sequences. Because
Right.
now suddenly everyone is this ninja fighting, gun wielding action hero that they weren't in the first movie.
We have slow motion diving while aiming two guns and shooting
So
and all of
much,
that kind of stuff.
so much of
Not
that
only do we have
happened.
that, we have, I guess, dinosaurs. Like I mean, like small dinosaur things. Like,
So they're, yeah, like lizard, dragon, dinosaur thingies that swim in the water, but also are on land. And now they are on land.
is it so? Are they? I'm trying to remember. Like, in the real world, you know, kimono dragons. Komodo
Yeah,
dragons. It's kind of like those, but with
yeah,
sharper teeth and a little more. I don't know. Not that those are super aggressive, but more fast. I guess I don't know.
yeah.
So
They're
kind of
vicious,
like that.
carnal.
So
Yeah,
one thing I'll note here too is there are moments where the CGI looks pretty terrible in this movie. Like I don't know if you noticed that when we were watching it, but like
I wasn't too keyed in on it, probably as
yeah.
much as you were.
Well, so I thought the scenes that were in the trench actually looked pretty good. Like I was okay with that. That was fine. But for some reason, there were moments on the surface, especially with those little lizard dragon things, where I was like, "This looks rough. Like it, it does not look like it's finished."
And
You know,
another shot that made me think of a throwback to another movie, and it must be Jurassic Park 2, Lost World, I think, is the scene where he looks behind him at the overgrown grass and he sees the lines of the dragons coming at him. I was like, well, that's exactly what happens in that movie with the raptors coming through the tall grass.
ripping
And
off
so
Spielberg.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is that what we're doing here?
But I
Okay.
mean, and even that scene that eventually results in a helicopter explosion, crashing, and like just all of this kind of crazy stuff. And I don't know how is it Cliff Curtis? Is that the actor's name who's in this? Who is he was in the first movie? He's the guy that's sort of just not really along for the ride, but like I'm trying to remember what his character's name is in this. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, he survives the helicopter crash. Like it
Oh,
literally
that
crashed
guy. I think his name's Mac.
in real life. Like I'm trying to think of the actor's name. I can't
Oh, I have
remember his
no
name.
idea.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, the helicopter literally like flips over multiple times, and he's somehow alive. I mean, not that that's like any less realistic than anything else in the movie, but it was
Correct.
just you know.
Yes.
So of course, we eventually do get Jason Statham's character. What is his character's name? I can't even remember now.
Jonas.
Jonas. There you go, Jonas.
Because they yell it a lot.
They do yell it a lot.
Yeah.
He's one-on-one with the Megs at one point on a jet ski with explosive I don't know, like
Harpoons.
spears kind
Yeah.
of
He's
thing.
gonna
Yeah,
spear him with an explosive on.
right. He's doing flips with the jet ski. He gets chased on a dock and manages to get away from them while also battling the villain guy who has survived up until this point.
Yeah. And the
Um,
squid is attacking people, and
the
the
squid
daughter
is
is now
attacking people.
involved.
There's a lot going on here, and so I think my biggest criticism is not so much that it's over the top. Like I wanted it to be more over the top. Like what I wanted was less of the story that the first 3/4 of this movie is.
Yeah.
Like take the first quarter to set up the premise and let the rest of the movie just be crazy shark chasing people type of stuff, which is really
Yeah.
what the first movie was. More of
Yeah.
that, I
Yes.
think.
And
So
I
I
do
think
think because they had all these villains and these layers they were trying to reveal. And then you find out that the reason the one guy's really after him is because he, called the authorities on his boat and that guy had to go to jail and he's mad about that. So you're like, okay,
I
sorry, bad
just
guy.
I just wonder. I'm kind of like you. Like, I wonder if when they were writing this, there was some kind of stipulation about what the structure of this movie needed to be, which is weird to me. Like, it just felt more like a standard action movie for the most of the runtime than what I wanted, which was a crazy killer shark movie. And I just reviewed on a separate video the Black Demon. I will say this is better than the Black Demon.
That's good.
That's
I
the
mean, I
worst.
would hope so.
Yeah, that's the worst shark movie I've seen in a while. But I still wouldn't really recommend this one. I mean, I don't like. It's one of those things that like I don't know that I'll watch it again. I mean, maybe if it's on TV, like I would watch the ending of it
Yeah,
potentially.
right. I would tune in if I knew it was the last half hour of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't need to watch it again. I do recommend it for people who like shark movies. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
if
sure.
that's your jam, and you saw the first Meg, I think there are parts that you'll like, and then there are parts like they're like, what are we doing? Where are the sharks?
Well, and I'm going to circle back to the main villain, the woman who owns like the
Oh
mining
yeah.
operation or whatever. Like she was, and I think I told you this, she's like a Bond villain, like
Yeah.
just like, in like a luxurious location and always on her phone and whatever. And I thought her death wasn't that great. Like it wasn't really super satisfying. Like I was expecting something crazy to happen to her just because they're sort of setting up that like she's the main
Considering
bad
that like
guy.
the other villains got pretty big deaths, hers
Yeah.
was and again, I'm not gonna lie, it felt like a Jurassic Park throwback when she goes into the helicopter and then the little dragon lizard monster is in there waiting for her. I'm like, oh, just like in Jurassic Park with the Flappy.
With Nedry.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I totally thought the same thing when I was watching. I was like, this is just like the Dilophosaurus in the Jeep,
yes.
same sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
So,
mhm, mhm.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other like just standout things to mention here. Like, I just
Well, I feel like there's one,
okay.
and it's a big spoiler. It's how Jason Statham defeats the Meg.
Well,
Where
with
he
the all right,
takes
with
that
the helicopter blade, yeah,
yes, and stabs this I mean, how big is that shark supposed to be?
yeah.
Like
Well, the best part about it is he's holding it and he has it like wedged against some rocks, and he's like, ugh, like he's really carrying the brunt of this thing as a gigantic 20-ton shark bites down on him,
yeah,
and it goes to the top of the Meg's head. Which I mean,
yes.
that was cool looking, but yeah, like I mean,
I
that
would
I don't
believe it
know.
if that was like a regular shark, like,
The,
okay, fine,
the,
but a
the,
megalodon, really?
the crazy thing is, so I mentioned the Sci-Fi Channel earlier. Like, I would rather watch any one of the Sharknado movies again than this,
Okay.
just for entertainment value. Like, if I'm looking at it from
Yes,
just the standpoint of entertainment, like those to me are more entertaining than
because
this.
the Meg 2 is not really entertaining until you get to the end and all hell breaks loose because you're not watching the Meg 2 for a story.
And you caught on to something. I think I was just kind of zoning out a little bit toward the end of this, but it was a good Jaws reference. Pippin the dog, like
Yes.
that was kind of cool. Like, I'll give them props for that they did
Yes.
that.
I guess like there's this whole layer of like the girl.
I should know this because I've seen the first movie a couple times. Does she die in the first movie? I just forgot that happened.
No,
Okay,
no,
she
she
doesn't. Okay,
doesn't. No, they showed a picture of her during that opening, that
I
big
remember.
gala
Yeah.
event, and it said 2021 was her death
So,
date.
did they say what happened to her, or I
No,
don't? Okay,
I
yeah, I was
don't
just
remember.
yeah, I don't
They might
remember
have
that
said
either.
something passing, but I don't. So he's like got this father role, so he's got to take care of her, but he's also got to like save everybody. And I'm like, do you really? And I think we had that joke in the theater where the girl sees someone who's fallen off the dock and needs to go save. You don't need to save that person. You don't know
Right,
them. They're
right.
dumb. Let them
They're
die.
done. Yeah, they're fodder at that point.
Just go be safe. Just go be safe. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. And I
So
really, really, really thought that her uncle, the guy who was like in charge of everything in the first one, I really thought he was going to die in this
yeah,
because he was almost like the comedic relief sometimes. Like he
yeah.
would be funny. He thought he was training a Meg. Like I really did not think he was going to make it out of this movie alive.
Speaking of that scene early on where he's like, "Watch, I can click, and the Meg won't eat me." Like, I don't know if we're just not supposed to know, but I'm like, how did he get out of that? Because it's literally like the way they cut the shot was the Meg is literally biting down on him. The Meg bites down, and then he walks through the door like, "Ah, I lived." Like, I don't
I
know. Did he like?
interpret it as it was like a very close call where the Meg came and he just moved up just
That's what I
fast
was like. Did he
enough.
inflate like a vest and just go up or something like
Yeah,
that? I don't
yes, that
know.
is what happened in my
Okay,
interpretation of events because that's all that makes sense. But also, like, that Meg is still out there, right?
I
Like,
guess so. I don't. Is that did that one survive? Yeah, it did because at the end it's
yeah,
like he like manages to get it
yes,
to go
he's
away.
convinced that he trained the Meg, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
it heard the dolphins and went after them. And it's like, well,
The
it's still out there, so
I think the challenge here is going to be the box office numbers because this movie has not gotten great reviews, and people aren't going to make a decision about whether to see this or not based on critical
yeah,
response,
yeah. No one's like,
probably.
oh, it's
But
not good. Oh, darn.
I do wonder like what kind of numbers it has to achieve in order to warrant another sequel. Like I don't know how far away it's going to be from that or not.
I would have a really hard time believing there will be another one.
Yeah.
I don't
What
think.
I'm expecting is like a straight to Netflix maybe not even starring Jason Statham type of follow up or something
Yeah,
like
I could see something like that. Some like the Meg,
Yeah.
and not even with a number, like a totally other name type thing. And it's got
It's gonna be called Megs, plural. It's just gonna
yes,
be,
the Megs.
like
And it's about the
aliens.
girl when she's growing up and she's I don't know. I could
Yeah,
write it if they really want me to. I'll do that.
you totally could. Speaking of,
Yes, I
Kim
can.
just wrote a script and I was in the reading and it was awesome. So you did a good
Word.
job with that. Under Pressure. Yeah,
Yes.
I had a lot of fun with that. It was
It
good.
was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. So, do we have any closing words about The Trench, Meg 2? Anything that is worth noting that we haven't already touched on?
I feel like it's just this constant like back and forth of, oh, this was a cool moment. I have no idea what you're doing now. Oh, I kind of like that. Why are we going in this direction? And that's why I used the word cohesive to describe the first movie, because I felt like it had a path and it stayed on the path and we knew what to expect. This one, I felt like it was all over the place. And not
Yeah,
always in a bad way, but just like all over the place, even for like the genre it was trying to be.
it was super scattershot. Like it's an
Yeah.
action movie, but then it's a
A
comedy, but
comedy,
then it's
yeah.
like I don't know. It was weird. So I think for me the big thing here is that it's kind of forgettable. Like I mean, I just don't
Yeah.
really. I don't know. Like I'm just again, if I see it on TV and it's toward the end of it, maybe I'll watch it. But I'm not going to make an effort to go get the Blu-ray or anything like that.
Yeah. No.
So
It's cool if you've got a couple extra hours and you've got nothing to do, you might
if
as
you're curious
well.
about the sequel and it's on a free play, or you've got a subscription to something and it's streaming at some point, sure, like it's probably fine for an afternoon
Yeah.
viewing, but don't expect a whole lot out of it. So
Yeah.
anyway, what are we going to watch next? I don't know if we've even discussed like what's out or what we're going to do. I don't know. Is there anything?
No.
What
I don't
about The
know.
Nun? We saw the,
Oh,
the
we did
trailer
see
for
the
that.
trailer for The Nun. I mean, I know nothing about I'm kind of so over like jump scare movies. I don't know. And I guess I just because it all feels like they just do it to do it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, the first Conjuring, I really liked a lot. Like, I enjoyed that movie. I know some
Yeah.
people have mixed, but beyond that, I didn't. I don't think I saw the second one, and I know this and like Annabelle are spinoffs of that somehow, but I don't know. I
Yes.
don't know. So,
Yes. And
we'll have
wasn't
to
there
look.
another one? There was another one that we said actually looked kind of interesting. And it was um there was it was there was it was there was like a demon possession spirit thing that was like
Yeah, it was in the closet. Like the eyes would go away
yes,
when you. Yeah, yeah. I can't remember
yes.
the name of it now.
It did have the like that rigid looking thing that I'm over, but that movie itself looked kind
Right,
of
right, right.
cool.
Yeah, the little like the demonic girl crap
Yeah,
walking kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So we'll figure out something to watch next for
yeah.
sure. But this was fun as always. I think we'll be back. I would say hopefully in the next month with another review of some type. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll figure out something to watch.
Yes.
Oh, Pumpkinhead. We need to watch that too. I just got the Blu-ray. I got the
Yes.
Blu-ray for that in the mail today, so I'm gonna watch it in the next few weeks, and
Okay.
then
We could
yeah,
do that.
yeah, that'd be cool. I've never seen it, so it'll be my first time watching it.
Okay.
In fact, if you and Matt want to come hang out one night, we can put on the Blu-ray, and it would be fun.
Would Erica
She might hang out in the vicinity and just be like, "I'll take some popcorn and then wander into the other room and watch a musical of some type."
I would probably follow. I'd be like, what
It didn't
musical are
mean
you
matter just
watching?
watching Pumpkinhead.
I'd be like, I'll watch the musical. I'm good.
And then
Just
I would
be
just be
by
watching
yourself.
Pumpkinhead. Me and the dog would watch Pumpkinhead.
Exactly. And Matt's seen it, so I feel like he'd be more about it because he's already seen it. So I think he
Yeah.
knows what to expect. So
I
yeah, maybe
do. So they keep talking about releasing The Abyss on 4K. I do think you guys would like that. So I think that
okay.
I think Erica would like it too. She's a little, I mean, because it's James Cameron and she usually is like
Mhm.
okay with a lot of his stuff. So like, I think she would like it. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, it's been fun. Everybody, thanks for watching, and we will be back soon.